Hi everyone, it's my honor to be invited by Dr. Qing Wang to present our study on creativity coaching here. I'm Qinyue Zhu. I'm currently a research student in Dr. Wang's educational coaching research group. The study I would like to share with you here is the importance of creative agency, an RCT study comparing coaching programs of creative role identity and creative thinking. We will first briefly go through the role of creative role identity in the cultivation of creativity, and the design of our creativity coaching, which adapts the thoughts and tools of narrative coaching and character strengths-based coaching. Then, we will introduce the current study and its method and results in detail. And finally, we will discuss our main findings and future plans. Creative self is critical for individuals to realize their creative potential and take proactive creative action. Though it is agreed that creative potential is the prerequisite for creative behavior, if one is not willing to take the action or is less motivated, they might not be able to perform creatively. For example, in the environment lacking perceived support for creativity, individuals often face barriers to realizing their creative potential. Cultivating a strong self-belief of creativity could help individuals enhance creative performance in various situations despite of adversity. Creative self is an umbrella term which consists of variables like creative role identity, creative self-concept, creative mindset, and etc. Among all these variables, creative role identity can be viewed as a fundamental and representative variable. Similar to the other creative self-beliefs, studies have shown a positive correlation between creative role identity and creativity. Individuals who consider creativity as a vital component of their identity actively seek opportunities to enact actions aligned with their self-perceptions. Creative intrinsic motivation plays an explanatory role in the relationship between creative role identity and creativity. Creative intrinsic motivation can help transform an individual's creative potential from a latent state to an actual state. According to the self-determination theory, if individuals identify themselves more with a creative role, it implies more role support from themselves or others, which may lead to higher basic psychological need satisfaction. Individuals who are well satisfied in their basic psychological needs, including autonomy need, relatedness need, and competence need, may consequently have higher autonomous motivation, and thus better creative performance. In another study I collaborated with Dr. Wang, we utilized a cross-sectional study and an experimental study. We found that creative role identity helps individuals remain motivated to pursue creativity, even in the absence of external support. By identifying with their creative role, individuals can better overcome challenges and continue to perform creatively. In addition, we found that creative intrinsic motivation mediates the positive relationship between creative role identity and creativity. And individuals with higher level of creative role identity tend to have higher perceived support, resources, and levels of basic psychological need satisfaction. Thus, creative role identity may be a crucial factor in the cultivation of creativity. Speaking of the cultivation of creativity, various kinds of creativity interventions have been developed in the past 50 years. For the content of creativity interventions, some of the studies focus on cognitive factors like creative thinking ability and creative problem solving. Other studies focus on non-cognitive factors like creative motivation and personality. There are also studies on environmental factors targeting the classroom creative climate and teaching motivation. As the number of creativity intervention studies have increased, and as creativity is one of the most important factor for the education at all ages and for the people in different fields. Researchers have been curious about what types of creativity intervention work more effectively. Recent meta-analysis studies and systematic reviews have indicated that those programs focusing on cognitive factors might be more effective than those not, and the interventions, which include structural design and social interactions, are also more beneficial in promoting creativity. Thus, for our creative role identity coaching program, we integrated the thoughts and tools from narrative coaching and character strengths-based coaching and designed a structural program. Narrative coaching helps individuals understand and value their creative self from a social contextual perspective. We adopted the important idea of narrative coaching that we should not only improve participants' creative performance during the sessions, but also help them to better understand how to apply the skills and thoughts they learned into their daily life and to truly identify with their creative role in their personal life. In that way, the coaching program might have lasting effect on creativity. We also adapted character strengths-based coaching in our program and collaborated with NEAMIC on the program design. The value in action classification for character strengths. Creativity is one of the 24 character strengths itself. So the strength spotting practice can directly contribute to the development of creativity. And as some signature strengths can also be used to cultivate other less used strengths, we also design activities to help participants think of different ways to develop creativity through other strengths they have. In general, our creative role identity coaching program aims at coaching the participants to become a more creative person using character strengths and internalize the role by integrating narrative coaching and character strengths-based coaching. For the structure of the coaching program, we used appreciative inquiry model, which emphasizes participants' strengths and future possibilities, and it is aligned with our coaching aim. The detailed coaching program involves 4 sessions, including the discovery, the development, the enrichment, and the actualization of creative role identity. Despite the increasing numbers of creativity intervention studies, there are a few gaps in existing research that we would like to address. One is that there is a lack of studies directly comparing the effectiveness of different creativity interventions. We are curious about whether creative role identity matter in the development of creativity, and what is the differences between creative role identity coaching and the existing creativity interventions, especially those programs which have already been proven to be effective. And we would like to identify key components for an effective creativity coaching. The other is that existing studies fall short on the rigorous study design and the performance tracking. We are also interested in comparing the lasting effect of different kinds of interventions. So we designed our randomized controlled trial study to achieve 2 main purposes. One is to examine the effectiveness of creative role identity coaching, CRIC. The other is to compare its effect with the effect of creative thinking coaching, CTC, which mainly targets the cognitive factors and is one of the most widely used creativity interventions. All eligible participants would be randomly assigned to 4 groups, and they would be measured at 3 time points: before the intervention, immediately after the intervention, and 1 month after the intervention. The final sample consisted of 91 participants in total. For creative thinking coaching, we mainly adopted activities from existing creativity interventions, which focuses on enhancing basic creative thinking skills like divergent thinking, convergent thinking, and makes them more applicable in daily life. The detailed themes in the program include divergent thinking, convergent thinking, creative problem solving, and creative thinking in future life. We also set the active control group and blank control group in our RCT study. Active control group had relaxation practices and watched some movie clips irrelevant to creativity. And the blank control group received no intervention. Demographic analysis showed that the four groups have significant differences regarding their gender, grade, major, age, but not for their innovative project experience at each time point. So gender, age, grade, and major were set as controlled variables in the analysis. These are the measures we use to assess creative role identity, creative motivation, basic psychological need satisfaction, and frustration, and creativity. Both self-reported measure and tasks were used to measure creativity. As we are still processing the objective indices of the creativity tasks, the results we are going to share with you here are mainly on self-reported creativity. We utilized SPSS 23 for data analysis, conducting two-way repeat measure ANOVA to assess the effectiveness of the interventions. Additionally, we applied memoir macro to further investigate the intervention mechanism. Then let's go through our main results. For creative role identity, the results show that both CRIC and CTC experienced significant improvement from T1 to T2, but both groups decreased from T2 to T3. For self-reported creativity, both CRIC and CTC also showed significant increase from T1 to T2. For creative intrinsic motivation, only CRIC shows significant improvement from T1 to T2, but experienced a decrease from T2 to T3. The memoir macro helped us to explore the working mechanism of the intervention on examined variables. The figure here is the theoretical model of how it works in our study. When we use CRIC and CTC participants as a sample to run the mediation test, the results of memoir showed that from T1 to T2, creativity coaching could increase participants' creativity through boosting their creative intrinsic motivation. For perceived support, CIC experienced significant increase from T1 to T2. For perceived resources, CIC also significantly improved from T1 to T2. For autonomy needs satisfaction, at T1, CRIC was significantly lower than the other groups, but it increased significantly at T2. For competence needs satisfaction, only CRIC experienced significant improvement from T1 to T2, but it fell back again at T3. For relatedness need frustration, though CTC scored significantly higher than the other groups at T1, it decreased significantly at T2 and had no significant differences with other groups, but it increased again later at T3. To sum up, for the effect of CRIC, we found that compared to T1, CRIC scored significantly higher at T2 on creative role identity, creativity, creative intrinsic motivation, perceived support and resources, and autonomy and competence needs satisfaction. And CRIC yielded significantly higher creativity and perceived resources at T3. For the effect of CTC, compared to T1, CTC scored significantly higher at T2 on creative role identity and creativity, and lower relatedness frustration, and CTC yielded significantly higher creativity at T3. Both groups were effective interventions for promoting creativity through the mediation of creative intrinsic motivation. while CRIC were more effective in improving creative intrinsic motivation, perceived resources, and autonomy and competence need, and CTC were more effective in eliminating relatedness needs frustration. Now let's move on to the discussion of our main results. The effectiveness of CTC can be understood through the lens of self-efficacy theory. Participants gain mastery experience by learning creative thinking skills and tools, and they had successful creative experiences in the coaching sessions. We also invited them to share their creative thoughts and artworks with other participants so that every participant can learn from peers' successful experiences. These experiences they got helped improve intrinsic motivation and thus their creative performance. Additionally, they learned and shared about creativity during the coaching as a group, and this in turn might lead to the increase of relatedness with peers. For the effectiveness of CRIC, the findings are congruent with previous studies on other creative self-beliefs and role identity theory. Creative role identity can positively predict creativity through creative intrinsic motivations. Though CRIC and CTC are similar in their effects on creativity, CRIC yielded slightly different results and more significant effects on motivation and its antecedents. According to Petka's theory on creative role identity, people with higher creative role identity can not only have higher internal support and resources, but they can also proactively seek help from the external. Thus, they tend to have higher need satisfaction, which in turn leads to higher autonomous motivation and better creative performance. Generally, our findings indicated that creative role identity plays an important role in the creativity coaching. The diagram on the right is adapted from Kaplan and Garner's dynamic system model of role identity. Though CTC can help improve the understanding of creativity from the cognitive perspective, creative role identity integrates all these factors, including the understanding of creativity, self-perception, and action possibilities, and enables an individual to take creative actions toward their goals. For future plans, since we are still working on the data of creativity task indices, we plan to further analyze the differences between CRIC and CTC through network analysis and latent growth curve analysis. Additionally, we will utilize interpretative phenomenological analysis to explore qualitative data from sessions and post-coaching interviews. We also recognize several limitations and propose future research directions. Future studies should consider adapting in-session activities based on participant feedback, adopting peer-rated and observational measures of creativity, and incorporating major specific variables, expanding the study design to include combined coaching approaches, tracking longer-term outcomes, and controlling for potential experimental biases. In conclusion, our study compared the differences between creative role identity coaching and creative thinking coaching and highlighted the role of creative role identity in creativity coaching. And finally, there are two key messages for coaching practitioners. Firstly, besides creative thinking, creative role identity and creative intrinsic motivation are important in creativity coaching. And secondly, a comprehensive creative role identity coaching program combining the coaching on understanding of creativity, self-perception, perceived action possibility, and personal goals are suggested in coaching practices. Hope that you will enjoy our study. Our study is now in the progress for publication. If you are also interested in creativity coaching, please feel free to contact us through email. Enjoy the rest of the symposium from our educational coaching research group. Bye.